What is going on YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just BSN podcast. And today, my friends, we have episode 131. And my friends, we get to celebrate. We don't get to have a very gruesome Tuesday as the Cavs move on. They knocked out the Toronto Raptors. It took us 7 games, which, at the beginning of this series, we did not think, especially after the first 2 games, you thought, man, this
Yeah.
could be a gentleman's sweep at the very least. And Toronto played us tough, man. I underestimated them a little bit, but although they don't have the scoring that they would have needed to really get past us in Game 7, that is a very good defensive team. Scotty Barnes is a tremendous forward in this league and probably a top 5 all like defensive player and just an all around great player. He's going to be a big like future star here soon, and I think Toronto is in a really good place, and they have a lot of different options that they can go for moving forward. So shout out to them. Not a huge fan of the fans. The fans were kind of annoying. I can't lie. Toronto fans were really just obsessive and very weird, but Cavs fans can be that way too. It's basketball. It is what it is. So shout out to Toronto. Great series. It was a fun one, and it was super just physical and just, I mean, up until the last game, like the Cavs and in the Raptors, I think they each scored the same amount of points, and that was the last time that had that happened was actually uh, 2016 when the Cavs were playing Golden State, coming back from 3-1. So just a very unique series and a very unique way to end it, but they got it done, and the Cavs really locked it down in Game 7, which we will talk about. But before I get too into that, because I know I'm a little excited about my Cavs, I want to first give Andrew the floor and make sure that we give a lovely shout out to the sponsor of the show.
Yeah, guys, check out our sponsor, Effortless Wins, for sports betting advice and plays to boost your wins. Talk to Tony or Greg. The links will be in the description of Spotify and in a comment on YouTube. Guys, use code JustBSN26 for a nice little discount. Playoffs of the NBA are in full swing. We are now in round 2 of the NBA playoffs. Conference finals are coming up. Going to be big. Also, same position for the NHL. We're in the NHL playoffs. They're in the divisional series as well. So, guys, be sure to lock in, talk to Tony and Greg. They're going to get you right. And there's more and more sports up and coming. So, MLB, everything. So, guys, check them out. Talk to them. Use the code. Tell them we sent you. And get yourself right for the summer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And look, man, I'm not gonna lie. Tonight is Game 1 of Cavs versus Pistons, and currently, I just saw on FanDuel the Cavs just the money line is plus 134. So if you're a believer in our Cavaliers, you're gonna be up on some money. If you
Yeah.
put $5 down, you're gonna win a couple more bucks after it. So man, like, listen, this is a time to do it. You also still got baseball going on, which we all know. The guys at Effortless Wins, they are very, very good at baseball betting. So if you guys need more help to upgrade and increase your betting knowledge and just get better overall, these guys are a great way to start it. It's a really cool thing to do. So use that code JustBSN26 for that discount. But yeah, guys, as I was starting to get into before the sponsor, the Cavs obviously survived in advance, and they did it in a pretty dang good fashion. And I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm sure you felt the same way, but I had some jitters going into Game 7 because on the last episode we said, man, we really don't want a Game 7. We don't want to have to deal with that because if you lose that game, that Monday morning on radio stations and ESPN alike, they're just gonna run us through the wood chipper, and it's gonna be a rough week. And we were just not gonna look forward to that. And luckily, the Cavs showed up, and they didn't let us down. And it was led by Jared Allen, who had a legacy game, capital Legacy. Had, I mean, dude, one of the best games I've seen him play just overall. I didn't even check his plus minus, but I'm sure it's just astronomically high during that game. 22 points, 19 rebounds. This dude had a double double in the third quarter alone. He had like 13 points and 10 rebounds. He went nuclear.
Yeah, he had a plus 13 plus minus.
Yeah. He went nuclear. That was such a fun time to watch, especially that third quarter because the Cats battled back. They were down 26-24 at the end of the first quarter, but they were down 22-10 to start the first quarter. So the Cavs battled back and then they went down 10 again. And then they made a little bit of a run right before the end, right before half to tie it up at 49. And we're like, okay, we're in a good spot. We got a little bit of momentum. The guys are starting to feel a buzz. Like you could feel it starting to build in the air. And then they come out of the third quarter, and I think they went on like a 10-2 run to start it. And it was just off to the races from there. Like Jared Allen was just he grabbed every board that he could possibly get near. And he was just playing with the most confidence that I've probably ever seen him play. It was truly a really fun game. And Donovan was able to get going a little bit with the floaters and stuff. Guys just kept kind of facilitating. Like it was kind of an overall effort by everybody. So it was a really fun game to be a part of. But yeah, man, I was real nervous before this game.
Yeah, so was I. Like I was telling obviously you and other people, I was like, I am scared of Game 7. I'm scared of this game because it just flashes me back to like Orlando and the trouble they gave us, and we had to beat them in a Game 7. And the Game 7s we've played before, it's like I really don't want to go to a Game 7 because with the way that we were playing, I thought it was going to be over because it's like, okay, we've been losing a turnover battle, we've been turning the ball way too much, and things just haven't gone our way. So, like you said, they got up really fast, really early, and I was like, "Oh, this is." I was feeling in my head. I was like, "This is done. We're down 10 in the first few minutes already, and it's not looking great. We're not hitting shots. Again, the turnovers have been crazy. We've already had close to double-digit turnovers, and I was like, this is not looking good." And then I was thinking to myself as the game went on, if you can make it like within 3 at halftime or be tied at halftime or whatnot, you have a chance of just going into the second half and blowing the doors wide open. And that's exactly what happened. Once you got late to that middle of the third quarter, late to the third quarter, the Cavs started blowing everything wide open, and the Cavs went up, I think, as much as 20.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, now I can relax and breathe because I said this on another show that I'd done, and I've mentioned this on Twitter, I believe, as well. But if you can get up 10 or double digits on the Raptors, they have such a hard time coming back because then they try to force things too much, and then they end up fouling a lot because they're trying to get too aggressive. And instead of being the aggressive that they were, where they weren't fouling but getting the ball and stripping you and whatnot, they start to get too aggressive. They start fouling. They start getting into foul trouble, and they force shots that they should not be forcing up. And that's exactly what happened. You went up right as soon as you went up 10 to 12 points. They started hacking. They started fouling. They started getting mad. They started throwing up fadeaway threes from the logo and stuff. And it just nothing was working for them. And that's what happens when you get to a team like Toronto and you fluster them. And that's all you had to do the entire season. Just get them flustered, get up by double digits, make them mad, make them start playing make them play your basketball.
Yeah.
And once the Cavs did that in the middle of the third quarter, I knew it's like, okay, we have a really good chance of winning this ball game. And even then, the Cavs money line was still at like plus 100 or whatever. And I kind of put a bet down for the Cavs to win because it's like,
might as well take it.
Yeah, take it because they had the Cavs still at plus money because they thought the Raptors would come back and beat them. So the Cavs were still plus money. And I was like, okay, I'm taking that. And the Cavs went on a run. They turned that 10-point lead to a 20-point lead and never looked back.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I'm just really glad everybody showed up. I mean, that was like, especially at the beginning of that game, like it was 22-10 at one point.
Yep.
We're like, man, like
this is it.
This, I'm sitting down there and I'm like, dude, this team is so soft. Like they're falling into the same patterns. They don't believe in themselves. They don't want to, show that they, can be here. And then I don't know. There's a thing that just clicked, and I don't know what it was, but the Cavs were able to just continue to battle back, and they've been able to battle back in games a lot this year where they've been down and then they come back. That has been a theme that this year, and that was kind of a theme in this playoff. I mean, you look at game 3, I think was the only like true blowout. Like game 4, we honestly could have won that game too. A little bit harder of a stretch, but the Cavs like literally made a way to win that game, and they just lost it at the end, just kind of gave up. Game 5, they came back, they were down, came back and won that. And then game 6, like, again, you were down by like 10 or 11, and you slowly battled back, and you were able to get into overtime. And, at that point, like both teams were getting gassed. Like you could see that they were gassed, and Toronto was struggling towards the end of that game, man. They were losing a lot of fire. They were really starting to miss shots. And, for game 7, I think it finally caught up to them for the Raptors, where, they kept trying to outshoot us. And I'm sorry, but they're just not equipped well for that. And I'm really, really wondering why they never they never threw out the one kid, Cody or something Dick.
Grady Dick.
Yeah, Grady Dick. Because he's a 3-point sniper. Like he could have given them a little bit more of an edge, or even that battle kid who had a couple threes. I mean, they just didn't want to play these guys long enough, and guys that were giving us problems. But the Cavs were able to find a way, and that's the biggest thing about the playoffs is it really doesn't matter what it looks like at times. It just matters, hey, do you survive in advance or do you go home? And the Cavs chose to survive in advance, and they did it in a big way. Donovan didn't have a perfect game, but I thought the third and fourth quarter, he really started to finally settle down. I think he finally was like, okay, like I found something here, because he kept trying to force dribble drives, and he was just constantly getting picked off and just making really dumb choices. And once he started to really mess around with that like 10-foot floater that he likes to do, then it started to open up for him a little bit. And then he was able to, trickle in his threes and not just rely so heavy on the 3-ball. And it just made things a lot easier for everybody else. And then Max Strus started hitting some shots. Sam Merrill played outstanding the last 2 or 3 games, man. Like his shot started finally falling. And I mean, especially game 6 and game 7, like Sam Merrill's shot was really starting to fall. And again, like Strus, he played really great, but his energy was through the roof. He had 3 charges. He freaking headbutted Scotty Barnes unintentionally, but he still headbutted him because he was just so fired up, and he just went and it looked really bad. Scotty Barnes flopped on that too. He definitely sold it a little bit because it was not a very hard headbutt, but still a flagrant one. And it was just led again by Jared Allen's his energy in the third quarter was just something unreal. Like it's really hard to describe as a Cavs fan because you're not really used to seeing that out of him. Like he's even yelling, at Jared Allen. He's dropping certain words, and then and then he's saying go home, and like you don't see that out of Jared Allen. And I think if you can get that out of him more, and even get that out of like Mobley, like. This Cavs team has the potential to go on a deep run. They really, really do, especially with how the rest of the East shaped out. We haven't even really talked about this yet, but Boston's out. Like, freaking Philadelphia did it. Like, they beat Boston mostly because Jason Tatum, stayed out for Game 7 because he favored that other leg so much that then his calf started hurting. So then he was forced to sit out because he didn't want to tear his other Achilles. And so they moved on. They just got their butts kicked by the Knicks. So they're down 1-0 to New York. And then we got Detroit. And again, we said this before the podcast. Like, I think you and I were both like a lot happier that we get to play Detroit instead of playing the Magic, because we know how the Magic play against us. I think they play us much, much well compared to Detroit. Just like I think Toronto was a much harder, matchup for us than it would have been for the Hawks. Like we would have gentlemen sweeped or even swept the Hawks. I'm going to be real. The Hawks were not much of a challenge for the Knicks. It would have probably not been that much of a challenge for us. And By the way, the Hawks played the Knicks pretty hard. Like they still took them to, what was it, 6 games? So again, like everybody in the East struggled a little bit. So it wasn't like anybody was just kind of clearing teams. The only reason why the Knicks looked better was because they beat the Hawks by like 60 points in their last game, which was still the funniest thing. Like I remember looking at the score, was like the second quarter, and it's like 70 to like 28. And I'm like, is that? I just scratched my eye. I was like, is that right? I was like, oh wow, it is. Okay, well that game's over. And it's just like, you haven't really seen a lot of those games in these playoffs just in general. I mean, I think OKC is the only team that's really dominating in any other sort of fashion. So the Cavs have a pretty good shot at making a run at this thing. And I think after they saw Boston go down and after they played the way that they played in game 6, I think the Cavs were ready to go for game 7. They said, listen, man, we'll figure this out. Let's just get the defense right first. And once they figured out the defense and once they finally realized what they needed to do, this is the way that you got to play in the playoffs. I think they can carry that into this series and then the next series. And as long as they continue winning, they can make a serious run at this. No doubt.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, if the Cavs could win this series, especially in a like 4-1 gentleman sweep, or winning games in a dominant fashion, this team can go all the way. And you kind of just pray to God that the Lakers or the Spurs or the T-Wolves could take down OKC. So that way you don't have to deal with the OKC whistle.
Yeah,
but
for real.
Because that whistle is, I tell you, that whistle is something else. But for the Cavs, it's just playing with that physical toughness that you played in Game 7. You heard Jared Allen say, you heard Donovan say, you heard James Harden say it in their press conferences that during that third and fourth quarter, they said all three of them said that that's the defense they need to play with since tip off.
Yeah,
that's the kind of aggression and defense they got to play with right from the tip. And if they would have done that at the beginning of the Raptors series, they could have swept the Raptors.
Yeah, they really could have.
But the Cavs were just they said they were too laid back. They weren't pressing hard enough. They were allowing them to get shots, and they said, we got to stop doing that. We got to play good, hard, aggressive defense. We got to make our switches faster. We got to get up tight on them and force bad shots. And they started doing that in that third and fourth quarter. And again, they started going up big, and they never looked back. So they all know that that's what they have to do to get deep into this playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I've seen the most is Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, thank you for bringing him up.
Yeah, that man is an absolute leader. The one thing I liked was when early in that first quarter, when Donovan Mitchell tried to split two defenders and turn the ball over by himself when no one up there, and you see Schroeder throwing his fist at him and screaming at him, and then talking to him during the game on the bench and saying, like, come on, man, and just the halftime talks in the last few games. That man is a true leader.
Yeah.
And you know what? I know people talk about the importance of the James Harden trade. I think Dennis Schroeder was a big important trade too, because this is a guy who knows what it takes to win a title. He did it with the Lakers during COVID. I know everyone calls it a Mickey Mouse title, but
it's still a ring.
A ring is still a ring. A title is still a title, and it's still difficult no matter what. Dennis Schroeder was a big part of that Lakers team when they won.
Yeah.
And you come in, you bring him in. He's got that veteran leadership. He's played in the league for 13 years, 14 years. He's the one out of anyone in that locker room who's made it the furthest. He's won it. Yeah. He's won everything. So, him being an important mouthpiece and someone that they can go to, I think that's what's been helping the Cavs a lot too, is Dennis Schroeder sitting there saying, hey, we need to do this and this. And he's become that voice that the Cavs have needed. And he's also shown it with this play. He had a great game 7. He had a great, game 5 and 6. Yep. I mean, he stepped it up massively. And for a while, when I was watching those games, I was like, this is the only guy who's actually been able to get to the paint and get to the basket and actually lay it up, because every time other guys were trying to get to the basket, they couldn't.
Yeah.
And you see Dennis Schroeder hit a quick little sidestep and just drive to the bucket and get a quick, easy lay. And it's like, why is he the only one who's able to do this right now? With all the skill sets that Harden has, Mitchell has, all these other guys have, why is it that Dennis Schroeder is the only one who can get to the bucket and, create opportunities? So I'm glad the players have stepped in and listened to him. Even a guy who's played even longer, and James Harden,
Yeah.
has, really took what Schroeder has said, because again, Harden's only made it to the conference finals, and he lost in Game 7 of those conference finals. I think twice. I think once with OKC in his earlier, and once with Houston. So, I mean, if there's anyone who knows how to win in this league, is Dennis Schroeder. So I want to give him so many flowers for being the voice and the vocal leader and being able to help guys dissect things and show, like, this is what we're doing wrong. This is how we beat this. Hey, these Raptors, they're double teaming you guys and bouncing off, and you got to find out where the space is and where the floor and where these guys are.
Yeah.
And the moments you do that, you break that defense down, and now they're in trouble. So it's been such a nice, refreshing thing to have a guy like Dennis Schroeder be that guy. And if we do end up going deep in these playoffs, a lot of it has to do with him and being a leader.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, I think having guys like that for the locker room, like, people forget how important that stuff is, especially during playoff runs. Like, when you look back at the, those Cavs teams before with LeBron and Kyrie and all them, like, look at the guys that weren't really big in terms of playing, but the guys that were really important in the locker room, the guys like RJ, the guys like Channing Frye, like, even Mo Williams, I'm sure, was really important. Like, those guys all had that, extra experience to go with just the immense talent that, that you had. You need locker room guys that can, help you stay even keel, but also, like, hold, very much hold you accountable. And I think just with that, it really helps. And it really helps a guy like Kenny, who isn't a really, like, rah type of guy. It just helps kind of give them the freedom to just, like, have it sort of work itself out in a sense. You just wish that Kenny would be a little more active on it, but he could be, and he's just a lot quieter about it. Who knows? Like, I don't know how he is, outside of these games and stuff. But yeah, Schroeder was very important, man. And he had a big Game 5 for us. Sure. And he had some pretty big moments, especially in Game 7 as well. So even at his size at like 6'1", he can still hold his own. And there were people there around like Game 5 and Game 6 where people were like, man, like, I miss Garland. And I'm like, man, we would have lost this series in like 5 or 6 games if we would have had Garland. Like, I'm just gonna say it the way the way it is. Harden played better than Garland could have played in this series, and Schroeder did a much better job as a backup than whatever that we had, even with Ty Jerome last year. Ty Jerome got bullied against the Pacers. Like if we recall this, Ty Jerome didn't have a bag. Ty Jerome only had 2 moves, and Indiana knew exactly what was coming when it was coming, and he couldn't make a shot in that series. So again, these guys are just built different, and I think we just have a much better unit here that's actually finally ready to sort of make that next step. And it definitely helps James Harden. His leadership and his way of playing is very important for this team, and I'm not going to deny that one damn bit. And I think Donovan is still in the right headspace. I know he didn't play well against Toronto, and there was some concern if he was hurt or if it was just a really tough series for him. But I just think Toronto is just that good of a defensive team, and I think you're going to see a different Donovan tonight against Detroit, because he has usually played pretty well against Detroit. And even though Detroit's defense is going to be better because it is the playoffs, so is ours. And it's going to be up to them to now they got to get over this hump of, hey, we got to win on the road. We're like 4-8 on the road since Donovan has been a Cav. So and 2 of those wins were Miami last year. So you got to think like there hasn't been a whole lot of big road games in the playoffs that they have really overcome and won. So the Cavs have a ton of work to do, and they've been close. They were really close in this Toronto series. I mean, that's just disrespectful to me. Like,
I just saw this on Twitter.
yeah, like that's the most disrespectful shit ESPN could ever put out. I truly think this is like a 50-50 series. I really, really do.
People people in the comments have been saying like, "Oh, I'm a Pistons fan, and this is definitely not 80% chance Pistons." Is
No,
more. Some said this is. I would give this more like 55 to like 45
yeah,
Cavs, or like I give this like 50
yeah.
50. Like a lot of people are not sold. Even Pistons fans are not sold on.
No, because they just played a really rough series against
Yeah,
the Magic, and by the way, Orlando didn't want to even be in the playoffs originally. They wanted to get rid of that head coach 2.5 weeks ago after the season ended,
yeah,
and now as soon as the series ended, what did they do? They got rid of the coach because
yep,
Paula probably went into that office and said, "Get him out of here, get him out of
yeah,
here, or you might as well just trade me because I'm not dealing with this crap."
yeah.
Like those players did not like him. They were playing for themselves. So
And the only
I don't
reason
want to
why,
hear it.
and the reason why Detroit came back in that series is because Franz Wagner left with an injury.
Yep. Yep. As soon as Franz was down, it was G. It was G freaking G. And again, when you have Tobias Harris going for 30 points, in Game 7, because you're going to get what you're going to get from Cade.
Yeah,
When Cade can affect the game in different ways, but again, I just don't see them as being as physical and as aggressive
hmm
defensively as Toronto was. So, I'm not fearful of Detroit as much as I started becoming fearful of Toronto. Because at the beginning of that series, I was not afraid of Toronto. I was like, yeah, I mean, this will be a 5 or 6 game series, like and that's just with respect to Toronto and and what they did to us, early on in the season. And I think Toronto is just one of those teams. Like there are certain teams in this league that they just match up a little bit better against you than others. And no matter how good they are amongst the rest of the league, sometimes you just have teams that you just play better against. It's it's a really weird philosophy to really get around, but you see it in every sport. I mean, you look at baseball for instance. It didn't matter how good Detroit was. Cleveland would always be able to beat Detroit in some sort of fashion, or the Twins, or even Kansas City. Like it was always Chicago, White Sox out of that division that for some reason always give us crap. It would always seem to beat us when they had no business beating us. It's just one of those things where again, some teams just match up better. And I just think we match up much better against Detroit. And I think the Cavs are fired up. I'm telling you like right now, they have to be absolutely juiced after seeing Boston go down because it clears open the East and it gives you more confidence. So you know what? Now this is worth it because, let's say Boston would have won and they would have continued on. The Cavs are always going to have in the back of their mind, well, if we get to the, East Finals, we're probably going to get slaughtered against them because Boston's played us really good this year. And then Boston chokes it. Boston can't have Tatum last game and they throw out one of the weirdest lineups you've ever seen in a Game 7, possibly ever. And they finally showed their lack of depth from all of the trades that they had made last year and that they really shouldn't have been where they were. It's just Jaylen Brown had a really, really good year this year and people have to give him credit. But this is an opportunity for the Cavs to really make a run at this. And we've been saying this since Tatum went out and since the Pacers lost Halliburton that the Cavs have a chance to make a run. And that's why the Cavs went out and got Harden because they said, hey, Garland isn't going to be the one that's going to help us get over the hump. He's never going to be fully healthy. And then you bring in somebody who has just proven to be just a dog. He's had troubles in the playoffs, but dude, again, even though his stats didn't say much, Harden played a pretty good series against Toronto. I think he was probably one of the more consistent players against Toronto. Besides games 3 and 4, obviously he had a crap ton of turnovers. He had a good bit in game 5, and then they slowed down a lot. Whatever he changed, Harden got much better at not turning the ball over. And same with Mitchell. It was like 2 and 3 turnovers instead of 7 and 8 and 9 turnovers. Like they did earlier on in the series. So there are many good things to come here. I think this Cavs team has a really great chance to go get this series, but you got to get over the hump of getting a W on the road, man. That's just, it is what it is. Like, you got to squeak either tonight out or game 2.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to share again on here is there's a Detroit fan on Twitter who said that, people really think that Dean Wade could stop Cade Cunningham. And I'm just going to share this and let the world see it. But this is players who had the most success guarding Cade Cunningham since the 21-22 NBA season. Minimum 100 total possessions guarded. Number 1, Dean Wade. Cade Cunningham has only a 27% true shooting percentage against Dean Wade. 27% true shooting percentage. So his shooting percentage against Dean Wade is about 28%. That's horrible. That's horrendous. Yeah. So that Detroit fan is saying, hey, Dean Wade can't stop Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham's unstoppable. Well, apparently Dean Wade can shut him down. I mean, Dean Wade shut down Jalen Brunson. I was there at that game against the Knicks. Dean Wade shut down Jalen Brunson to like 5 points, 6 points. Dean Wade, as much as we give him a lot of crap, his defense is just immaculate. The fact that he can guard the best guys on the court and hold them to absolutely zero, or to hold them to very little as possible, that guy's going to help you win. And again, I know we give Dean a lot of crap.
Yeah.
But his defense has been really helping a lot. So I wanted to show that. But yeah, as we said, as time has been going on, the Cavs have a very good chance of winning. And I just actually said this to my girlfriend because she was asking about the Cavs and stuff like that. And she was talking about hockey because she's a big hockey person. And I told her the biggest thing when it comes to playoff sports that has a 7-game series, whether it's baseball, basketball, hockey, the only way you're ever going to win a championship is if you can steal a game on the road. Yeah. If you can't steal a game on the road, it's over. You're not going to be lucky like the Cavs were against Toronto, where they won all their home games. And the only time those teams won was at home. If you want to win in the postseason, you have to have that grit and that fight to be able to win at least one game on the road. And if the Cavs were to win tonight on the road, that's going to make me feel a lot better, because it's like, hey, the Cavs can win on the road. So shut those people up. And number 2, the Cavs would have an easier chance of winning this series, because the Cavs' odds of winning the series if they take game 1 on the road are significantly higher. Because then, guess what? They could win game 2, and then they could go at home and just say, we're just going to end this now at home. Yeah. So these first 2 games are very important, because you lose game 1, okay, it's game 1, not so bad. But if you could snatch game 2, oh my God, that everyone's going to love it. Mm-hmm. And then you have 2 games at home. It could be like the Magic series. You could quickly go up 3-1 just like that, going back to Detroit, knowing that if you lose in Detroit, you have another home game to finish them off.
Yeah.
So,
and you don't want to be down to this Cavs team 3-1 like that.
No.
Like the Magic, they got lucky against the Magic.
Yep.
If you do that against us, it's not going to bode well for you, because the Cavs home crowd is absolutely bonkers, and they've really showed up.
And the Cavs home record in the playoffs is one of the best in the league.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty damn good.
So beating the Cavs in Cleveland, people, teams over the years are going to tell you it's one of the most difficult things to do, because even that '07 Cavs that got swept, San Antonio struggled to score in Cleveland. They struggled hard in Cleveland. Yeah, they swept us, but we didn't take. They didn't go down. The Cavs didn't go down lightly in Cleveland in '07. So it showed. Cavs have shown that it's hard to win in their building. So if you go down quick, if you go down 3-1, hell, if you go down 2-0 in this series, if you're the Pistons, it's probably over.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean you can't lose both home games and
Expect to win.
yeah, and look, I'm going to say this now, if this is obviously a big if, but if the Cavs really do that, Pistons fans are not going to be thrilled. They're going to run that team through the wood chipper after they just gave JB an extension.
Yeah.
Then they're going to be like, wow, like now we know why the Cavs got rid of him to even begin with. Because he's just not a great playoff coach. And he showed that against Magic. Like, yes, they won, but they won because the Magic basically let them win. Like it was almost like they were paid to just take them to the full 7 games and get some TV time. And then, okay, we are, now we're going to fire our coach because we didn't want him 3 weeks ago. We don't want him 2 months prior to that. So this is a different team for them. And again, like I'm excited for tonight and I'm excited for this series.
Me too.
Even if you lose tonight, as long as you keep it close and it doesn't look ugly, okay. But if it looks ugly, that's where Cavs fans are going to get back to being bitchy and not being too thrilled about being down 1-0. But if you play them hard and let's say you lose by 3 or 4, and it's just one of those games where, hey, Cade has a 40-point night and you're like, okay, hey, tip the cap. But as long as the other guys are playing their games well and it's just a matter of you just kind of got outdueled, then you can live with that as long as it doesn't happen every game. And I just don't think this Cavs team is going to fully let that happen. So I think this is going to be a great series, and I think if the Cavs do win, I think it's going to be 6 games. Like again, I think the plan is you got to steal one of 2 in Detroit. You win both of your home games, and let's say you do lose game 5, you come back home in game 6, and that crowd is ready to roll, and they want you to go to the East Finals, and that is a very possible thing that could happen. So. All of these people that are writing off the Cavs, I just think it's ridiculous, and they haven't really watched the Cavs play Detroit this year to really understand how this team matches up with them. And I think the Cavs, actually, I know the Cavs fully know this. I know they know this, and I know that they believe it. So it's time for them to show up, and it's time for them to really hit that next gear. They got a really good test in round 1, unlike last year. And I think that was going the full 7 games against Toronto was the best case scenario for us because it proved that we were able to survive against a pretty tough opponent and find ways to win in different ways and then close it out the way that you did. It just gives you confidence that this team can be ready for that next step. And hey, man, again, the East is so wide open. It's hard to not ignore, and it's hard to not say, like, you get through Detroit, there's a really good chance that you can get through the rest. So
for sure,
leave it up to them. Oh man, but yeah, that's pretty much all that I got on the Cavs. I know we wanted to kind of talk a little bit of Guardians, but I know they're even right now. Tanner Bybee had another rough night last night. Gavin Williams has been the only really solid guy besides Parker, but Parker had a rough game the other night as well last week, I think, or earlier this week.
Last game Parker had a rough game, but again, he's a rookie, and that's expected that he's not going to be like insanely perfect. He got hit, and that's what happens sometimes. You sometimes get hit, and you can't control it. I mean, he was pitching really well for the first few innings, and then he got to the 5th inning, and he just started getting hammered. So. Things like that happen. Also, you're pitching in a minor league baseball stadium, so you know how that goes when a major league team plays in a minor league stadium. It kind of just bodes well for that team who plays there all season long, and so it wasn't bad. Bybee, unfortunately enough, he gets no run support because
he never will too. I swear.
because before yesterday's game, he was only giving up an average of 2 runs a game.
Yep.
And of course, we would lose those games like 2-0, 1-0, and whatever. And it's like, where's the run support for this guy? He's actually been pitching very well, and he's been getting 0 run support.
Yeah.
So, but the guy
there's still some plenty positives though, for sure.
Yeah, the pitching staff looks really good. It's just they need help getting runs on the board from the offense, and that just hasn't been happening much.
Yeah.
So, but things will get figured out. You got 2 more against Kansas City before you head home. So things can change. We'll see what happens. Detroit just lost Tarek Skubal for the next 3 months. So
yeah, that's true. It's like, you know, even though we are 500, like they're still at the top of the central. So it's not like we're in a really bad spot or anything. Like they're
not at all.
They're doing just fine. And again, it's too early. So that's why I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here and like get all rowdy on it because there's just no point. But I do, as the season progresses, I'll obviously want to continue to try to talk a little more Guardians and
sure.
give more updates there because I do feel bad we haven't really done that. But you know, hey, when it's basketball season, like it's really hard for me, especially when the Cavs are still going, for me to not talk about them and give them their flowers because they've been playing some really good ball. And they definitely deserve it, and they have a really good chance to make a run at the table here. So they just got to show up tonight, man. You show up tonight, and like you pull out just an upset of the century. It's gonna be a really, really, really fun series, and it's gonna be a really fun run if that really is the case. So, yeah man, that's pretty much all that I got for us today.
Me too.
You know, obviously, continue to ride with us, guys. You know, we're 131 episodes in this thing. We've been grinding like crazy, and you know the viewership goes up a little bit here and there. So it's always nice to see, and we really do appreciate it. And you know, obviously, we got about another 2-3 months before Browns get back. You'll get back to it. So there's always going to be stuff for us to talk about, even in the slow seasons. We're going to be here every week, uploading on Fridays at 12:30. Yeah, we're going to keep it going. So until next week, we will see y'all with some more Cavs news. We'll see how we've progressed over the last week because this is a Tuesday that we are recording this. So this is game 1 of the second round, Cavs versus Detroit. We'll see how things look next Tuesday when we record, and hopefully by Friday of that next week, there will either be a close end to the series or maybe the series is ended. Who knows? We'll see what happens, man. We never know. So until then, we'll see y'all next time.